Welcome to this week's video from Delhi Sustainable Farms. This week is a continuation of fence building that we had started the last few videos. This week we are going to show you taking down the old fence and stretching up the new wires. So the first step in the process is getting rid of all the old fence back behind us before we can put up the new stuff. What was put up before is 4 strands of barbed wire, so we'll have to roll all of this up. It's probably about 1/3 of a mile in 4 different strands, so it's going to take us a little bit to get that done. But once that's out, we'll put insulators on these current posts and then show you stretching the actual wire. You're replacing it with high tensile electric. We are starting to phase everything on the farm out of barbed wire or woven wire and putting in the high tensile fencing. It just works better, and like my father said in the previous video, it's cheaper to put in as well. Usually we would take out these T-posts as well, at least half of them, because with the high tensile wire you don't need as many of those T-posts. But since these posts are already in the ground, they're already here in the right spot, so we're just going to go ahead and leave those in. We'll just put insulators on them. If it's a new fence, we will use fiberglass fence posts, but since again these are already in the ground, we're going to use what we already have and use less resources than what we would have to if we were putting up a brand new fence. So we'll kind of show you the process. You can see he's already taking the clips off of the fence posts, which holds the barbed wire up. So we're gonna have to take those off, and then we'll start rolling up the barbed wire. So stay tuned.
Anything, yeah, them will work.
So to roll up barbed wire, you kind of have to make it into a circle and tie that loose end back onto itself in order to keep it into that kind of secure circle. And then after that is done, you will see that he kind of starts taking the wire in his hands and keeps rolling it up as he goes. So now he will start rolling that up, and you make the circle kind of as big as you are able to handle. Sometimes it's smaller circles are easier, sometimes bigger. For this length of fence, the bigger was a little bit easier. And so as you get more and more wire on there, the rolls start to become heavier, and so you kind of just roll it then along the ground to help prevent you from getting too tired by the end of rolling it up. You can stop at any point and cut the wire and wrap it around itself as well.
So now we've got all of the wire pulled out, and to make it easier for us when we're putting up the new wire, there is some brush, mostly rose bushes or sticker bushes, that are kind of in the way, and it's best to kind of clear those out to make it easier for yourself when you're putting the fence up. We like to use this hedge trimmer. It's battery operated. It works perfect for getting like the small rose bushes and stuff out. Then we use chainsaws if there's any bigger stuff in the way. So that's kind of what we're doing at this point. One of the next parts, after we get the insulators on the brace posts, and sometimes you can wait after you put the wire up, sometimes you can do it before. It's just kind of what's kind of going on. We already have posts in the ground, we're not going to take them out, so as we're putting insulators on end posts, one of us can do that, and another can go down through the line and put the insulators on while we're waiting. That way we can be more efficient with the time. And so we have this nice PVC pipe that already has where the wires are supposed to go marked on it. So you simply just put it up next to your post, and you pop the insulators then onto the metal posts, just like so. So now the insulators are on, and we will use this tool to kind of measure out exactly where it's supposed to be on the post, like I've already mentioned. We will go about every fourth post or so and use this, and then those will be, I guess, more of the measurement posts, and then we will put these in wherever the wire kind of lines up on the posts that are in between it. We don't typically use metal T-posts. We use our fiberglass posts that are circular, about 1 inch in diameter, and they push right in. You don't have to use insulators. You can just use like a little metal pin that goes through the post and kind of holds the wire up. But being that we already have these here, we're using them. We don't put a insulator on the bottom wire because we keep that as more of a ground wire, and we only are heating up the top 3. That way, when stuff kind of grows up over the fence, it doesn't short out through that bottom wire. And usually stuff doesn't get up any higher than that, and if it does, that's your cue. You need to maintain your fence rows before it gets up any higher. So that's kind of the process of putting the insulators on. We'll finish doing that, and then we'll show you putting up some wire. Now that we've finished the brace posts and started putting a few insulators on the metal T-post, now it's time to roll out the wire. So we have rolls of wire that go on a spinning jenny, and that way it kind of unrolls as I pull it along. Usually I walk the wire to wherever I'm going, wrap it around the end insulator, that way it has a secure point, and then walk back. We have tried to use 4-wheelers in the past, but 4-wheelers go a little bit too fast for what the spinning jenny is able to handle, so it's a good way to get some exercise in. Just walk it out. Every time I pass a metal post, I slip one of these insulators on it as well, and those will kind of be the insulation point between the metal, usually the 3-inch post that you saw us drive in a previous video. Sometimes if there's a tree or something in the way, I'll put an insulator on as well. So it just kind of previous experience on when you need an insulator. It's always better to have more on there than you typically need, because once everything's tied together, you can't really put them on very easily. So I always will add a few extra if I think there's a place it could short out. So now that I've already done one strand, and we'll go ahead and put this other strand out now as well. This is called a strainer, and this is called the tension spring, and it will pull down, and I'll show you the marks on that when I start pulling it. But we put this in the middle of a run so it pulls from both directions, and if a tree or anything falls on the fence, the spring takes up the slack. The wires will just lay down. You cut the tree off the fence and it pops back up. With barbed wire, it usually breaks the barbed wire and stretches it and knocks down a bunch of posts, but this stuff works really great. So I feed it through a hole in the spool. I put just a little pin on the end. Now as it starts tightening up, the spring will start stretching. Starting to get a little tension on it. I'm looking for the notches on here to give it the proper, first one or the second one? There's the first notch. And I'm going to stop there for now. So that's stretched and it's ready to be put in the insulators. So now we have all 4 wires up and they're tightened. So this will conclude this video. There's just a few small detail work left to get electric to it from a previous fence, but that's not really that exciting. So we will have to make a few connections down where we do have the electric fence already started, and then it'll energize all of this fence. So if you liked the video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you can stay up to date on all our weekly videos. Otherwise, if you have any comments or questions, be sure to put those below. And if you don't have any, we'll see you again next week.